especially in giving support for those who are affected at this time. First up, we are going to have Dr. Ija Thompson, and he is a CEO and CEO of Essential Medical Services. And I just want to quickly introduce him to you all. So Dr. Ija Thompson is a proactive promoter of embracing a healthy lifestyle as a way of life. He is CEO of Essential Medical Services. He has been delivering clinical excellence in general practice for over 20 years and positive results in organizational development and team facilitation for 10 years. His postgraduate and executive education focus are resilience, work stress, leadership, workplace wellness, behavioral policy, appreciative inquiry, and coaching. He leads fellow medical wellness and organizational professionals within his Thrive at Work team in developing and implementing comprehensive standard-based workplace wellness solutions for a diverse range of organizations. He's an advocate of having a balanced and rounded Christian life. His hobbies include reading, gardening, jogging, and he's a proud married father of 3 children who is passionately striving to be a better humanitarian. So again, we're so delighted to have you here. The 2 topics of focus tonight will be psychological first aid and enabling resilience, looking at how we can really get more than just a focus on care packaging, the tangible. Tonight we'll be looking at the intangible. How can we support not just others, but support our own well-being and mental health? And secondly, we're going to be looking at after the storm, looking at the topic after the storm, preventing and treating common illnesses. This will be focused on personal and environmental safety and protection. So without further ado, let us have Dr. Ija Thompson join us.
Bless you. Thank you so much, Cheryl. And I want to just say a special thank you to the HRMAJ family for really partnering with us to make this support session possible. There's just so much that has been happening since the passage of Melissa. And, while we know of the suffering, what we also know is that there is this abundance of rich connection that exists in Jamaica. But what we find a lot of times is that if we do not tap into these rich connections in caring ways, then what we find is that the connections themselves doesn't lead to the type of recovery we want. And ultimately, I know we've heard the phrase before, build back stronger, right? And we're looking forward to ensuring that each and every person, is a part of this journey to helping to build a more resilient nation and more resilient communities and more resilient individuals. So at the heart of this session that we have for you is recognizing the power of caring connections. And I know we're at a cozy number right now. So what we want to do is just really with each other who is here right now, just get a little feel of what it feels like to be on somebody's mind, right? And how does that resonate with you when you know that someone is thinking of you? And not just that they're thinking of you, but they're thinking of you in ways that are thoughtfully, appreciating the ways in which they can help to make your life better. So I'd love each of you just to hold on to that in your mind for a little bit. And as you hold on to that, you will sort of feel some of you a little smile come to your face as you think about some of the people who may have you on their minds right now. And for each of you who can bring somebody to mind is that has have you on your mind, what you're gonna find is that you may be the beneficiary of what Harvard, the longest running Harvard study found, right? That study was started in 1938, and they found the number one predictor of uh, high quality life, uh, what they termed a long-term happy life or a fulfilling life and good health is the quality of our relationships. And so we hope to help you with the talk that we're going to go through, both in terms of physical health and mental health, to really look and ask you to look and examine the quality of your connections and certainly provide you with the means to be able to add to those caring connections as well. Now, just a quick little exercise before we get into preparing for the session. You know, I know each of you have something that is very sweet and well appreciated about you, right? So outside of, the goodness that you have done, there are things about you that are special. And for some of you, this specialness really begins with the fact that you're exceptional, the fact that you're essential, and the fact that you are an emotional creature. Exceptional with your uniqueness, essential with giftedness, and your emotionality, which is key to your humaneness, allows you to hold, well, wonderful connections. I have it as elevated connections, but I think the simpler one is just wonderful connections. Now, these connections allow you to pass between yourself and others the gifts that help you to be a hero in somebody else's life. And for some of us, these being a hero is not like, Superwoman or Superman. It's about just the simple things you do to bring hope, to energize encouragement, to bring that sense of resilience to other persons, to ensure that optimism, that hopefulness for a positive future, to help people to endure. I can remember Cleon, a very good friend of mine, when I was going through challenging times, just gave me that one word that I needed to say, to hear, to say, we can do this. And we pushed through. And of course, the sweet synergies that keep us successful. And the beautiful thing is that in in resonating these inner strengths with each other, then what we find is that because we can appreciate them in ourselves and each other, then it grows and appreciate and multiplies in abundance. So, with the purpose said, I'd love for all of us to just use this start point as the beginning of a way of learning to appreciate the experiences you're going to go through. For some of us, we're going to be in the affected zone. For some of us, we're going to be thinking about the affected zone, and we have to keep pushing on despite what's going on there. But one thing that I do know we need to do is that we need to be grounded in the realities that we are going through, we're going through this together. And in going through it together, I'm sure there are several things that we all can say that we appreciate today versus before the hurricane. So I invite you to just drop that in the chat very, very quickly. Just what's one thing that you appreciate today that, or you appreciate more today since the hurricane. And so in the chat, you can drop today, I appreciate blank. Drop that in the chat for me. And let's see, you know, what's on your mind in terms of appreciation. And as you guys take your time to think about the things that you appreciate more today than before the hurricane, there you go. So we see Cheryl share with us, turning on the tap, having clean water. And before clean water just seems so automatic, right? We pay our water bills, right? So we should see clean water coming through the tap. But of course, this appreciation that we actually do have a tap, and when we turn it on, water comes through it is something profoundly um um it's something that we should be profoundly thankful for, right? No, I think no, each of you, Desmond shares appreciates her family members. And I have no doubt she appreciates her family members before the hurricane. But chances are, as we think about the even more, right? Definitely, right? Because, so many persons lost family members in and around the hurricane, and not just lost them, but right after the hurricane, lost contact with our family, with their family members. And, just knowing that the people that you care the most about, that you're able to reach out to them through connections that just you press two buttons on your phone and you're in touch. When you're not sure if your family members are okay, and you just have to just trust in the Lord, it really brings to that sense of awareness that we've been granted this gift called technology to really use it in very appreciative ways. Erica says, I appreciate my family and friends. All right. So each and every one of us, I do hope, you know, the hurricane may have done a lot of harm, right, in terms of the environment and homes and so forth. But it's also brought us back to the center of ourselves. The very simple things that are granted, that we often take for granted, the very simple things that were given to us, that a lot of us may think about, wealth and gaining more wealth. But the greatest, they say, if you want to know how wealthy you are, start counting the things that you have that money can't buy. And so I'm sure turning on the tap, we can't really put a price on that, right? We might can put a price on the tap, but certainly to know that God gave us water in on this earth to be able to nourish ourselves in abundance. And of course, our first gift in entering this world is our family, among so many other little things, things that we don't have to buy. And so these things can always act as little grounding sources of grounding. And what I mean by grounding is that sometimes we can be so caught in our thoughts about what happened in the past, what's coming in the future, all the possibilities around us. It sends us into anxiety, it sends us into depression, it sends us into a sense of panic, and so many different intrusive happenings can occur if we don't know how to ground ourselves. And the things that we appreciate can be that very source of grounding. As a matter of fact, if you're someone who is familiar with mindfulness, it can be a way to achieve more of your intentions and the things you want in your life. So let's do a little grounding exercise together. And in doing this grounding exercise together, I do hope that as you practice it more and more with time, that it allows you to take control of the things that tend to intrude and want to overpower your thinking, and make it easier for you to hold on to the things that matter most in your life. So let's do this together. First, we do a little practice, and then we do very simply 3 breaths. It's as easy as that. Just 3 deep breaths, but each breath is taken slower and deeper each time. And in between each breath, we're going to pause and pause a little longer. Now, each of you actually had a thought earlier about something that you appreciate more since the hurricane. And we want you to use that pause to really just savor that experience. Just use all your senses to savor it. What did it feel like? What did it sound like? What does it, emotionally feel like to connect to it? What are your thoughts around it? Why is it appreciated? So, you can savor it while you pause. And then, of course, what you're going to do, you're going to exhale that goodness into the world. Some people say, speak it into being. I say, breathe it into being for others. And of course, you enjoy embodying it. And for our last breath, we're going to actually pass a special wish to someone. So if everybody is ready to give this a try, we're going to just begin with a practice, right? It's a practice round. And in that practice round, we're just going to breathe together. Everybody ready? If you're ready, put ready in the chat for me. Chat coming up. Yeah, everybody ready? All right. Surely you're going to tell, there we go. Everybody's ready. So all we're going to do is just what we call mindful breathing, right? And all mindful breathing is you do exactly what you do every day to breathe, but you're going to just notice your breath. You're going to notice your breath coming into your nostril, and you're going to notice your breath going out from your nostril. You're going to notice your chest expand as you inhale, and you're going to realize your chest relaxes as you exhale. And one last time, as you breathe in, you may notice your abdomen expand. As you breathe out, you may notice your abdomen relaxing. It's as easy as that. Now, all we're going to do is just do that slower, and we're going to do that deeper, and we're going to have a pause in between. So let's get into it, and let's see if we can move from a little mindful breathing into a little deeper anchoring. So let's go with our first breath in, nice and slow, as far as you can go. And then you just pause for a moment. And whatever that good thing that you thought about that you now appreciate, let it fill your mind. Feel it in every way you can. Touch, sight, hearing, emotion. And then, of course, slowly breathe out that goodness into this world. Breathe it into being nice and slow. And as you breathe out nice and slow, you allow your body to relax as you're filled with that goodness. You can probably even rock your shoulders 2 times, feeling good that you just send some goodness into this world. Sow some seeds that will reap the harvest of greater goodness with time. And then we go in for a second breath. Nice and deep, as far as you can go. Don't push yourself too much. And when you reach the top, you're just going to pause again. We're going to pause a little bit longer. And you think back again about that good thing. And if it was more than one, savor them, feel them, see them, touch them, hug them, smell them, taste if it's something to do with taste. Think about why is it good? And then, of course, nice and slow, breathe it out into the world. Let that goodness float from you, bringing more goodness into this world as you breathe that goodness into being for others. Nice and slow. And you feel that calmness from the tip of your toe straight to the top of your head. Just allow your shoulders to sag, just feeling good about the goodness you put into the world. And remember now, for the final breath, we're going to bring somebody to mind. This might be somebody close to you or somebody far away from you. It doesn't matter. The whole idea is to bring somebody to mind, right? And what I mean by somebody far away from you, you may be thinking about someone who's affected. You may not even know their name, but you know they're affected. They're close to you. It may be an intimate partner, children, colleague. When you breathe in, I want you to bring them to mind. See them vividly or as vividly as you can if it's somebody that's far away from you. And when we exhale, we're going to, at the end of the exhale, wish for them a couple of things. Wish for them to be happy. Wish for them to be healthy. Wish for them to thrive. And if they're far away from you, you may even add, wish for them to be free from pain and suffering. So let's do the last breath together. Nice deep breath in as far as you can, comfortably, and you hold it. And you're going to hold it a little bit longer. Again, bring to mind that wonderful thought of the things you appreciate more today than before the hurricane. See them, touch them, like put all your senses to work. Feel connected to them in as many ways as you can. Imagine why and deeply appreciate why this thing is such a good thing. And of course, once you've savored it, if it gives you a smile, feel free to smile as you breathe into the world again, the goodness that is with that thing that you appreciated. All the way out, breathing goodness into the world. And at the end of that breath, bring to mind someone that is either close or far from you, and simply transfer a thoughtful thought to them. I wish for you to be healthy. I wish for you to be happy. I wish for you to thrive. I hope all of you feel a little calmer, a little bit more grounded, a little bit more ready to make use of everything that's in the session. And I want to turn over back to Cheryl because I know she has a little activity for everyone who has joined since we started to do before Dr. Kelly comes to take you through psychological first aid.
Okay, welcome everyone once again. If you're just joining us, Dr. Thompson has just opened the floor with a relaxing grounding exercise. And for those of you who battled through the traffic or who had a rough day today, I'm sure you appreciated that moment, those few minutes of calm. So as a quick little energizer, could you share with us two things, just two small tasks. One, your location. Is anybody joining us from the West? That would be great for you to share with us. Just tap in and let us know how you're doing, how your family and friends are doing, your colleagues, your team members. And second, can you just share one word to describe how your week has been? A positive word. It can be positive. It can just be how you're feeling. Anybody wants to start? All right, so I will start. Let's say you must lead by example, right, Doc? Okay.
True.
So I'm gonna type what I would one word to describe my week. I would describe my week as this. Okay, Erica, thank you for sharing. You're in St. Andrew. I'm feeling grateful and optimistic. Erica, I think that described many of us. Extremely grateful is what I'd put in front of those two. We're extremely grateful and extremely optimistic that Jamaica, our beloved island, will recover soon, and grateful to the point of feeling some amount of survivor's guilt. A buzzword that Dr. Grace Kelly, who is here with us, she will be joining in the second presentation, or is it the first, Doc? The first,
All right.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so Dr. Kelly will start off. Anybody else would like to share? Please don't be shy. Any other words to describe how you would describe your week? All right.
I'm so sorry. I have a little challenge typing, so I hope you don't mind me
no problem.
opening
You're
the
welcome.
mic. All right. I'm certainly grateful, very, very appreciative as well. I live in Westmoreland actually, but I work in Kingston. So I'm here during the week and go back home on the weekend. So I'm also anxious because now I heard of a bushfire. So of
Okay.
course the anxiety is high, but I'm happy and grateful for life and very hopeful as well.
So,
Absolutely. I'm happy that you're safe. How was your home back in the West?
My home is okay. It wasn't
Okay.
damaged.
Right.
Of course, neighbors and family members are severely impacted.
Wow.
Um, so when you spoke about survivor's guilt as well, because there's no electricity or water, my tank wasn't damaged, so I'm good. And at least I have access to a generator and I
Wow.
can have Starlink. So of course,
Okay.
so yes, but I look forward to going back home on the weekend to help others though. So, of course, when I'm here during the week, my mind is there. So, but I am happy and grateful that it wasn't worse, which really it could have been as bad as it is.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so happy to hear a positive story coming out from that side. I'm sure there are many, but there's far more devastation and people who are struggling and not in a position to share anything positive, even though we do have a few people who are having, a positive spirit. Could you tell us exactly where is the name of your specific community?
I'm living in Landalo, Westmoreland, so that's Savlamar,
Oh,
just
right.
outside of Savlamar. And of
Okay,
course, that area was severely impacted.
right. True. Thank you so much for sharing with us, Desmi. I really appreciate that. And praying for your fellow neighbors and family and fellow colleagues in that area and surrounding. So at this moment, we are going to have Dr. Grace Kelly, who will be doing the presentation on psychological first aid and enabling resilience, critical skills to have in times of disaster and tough life moments. And I'm telling you, you're in for a treat. Dr. Kelly's first presentation last Friday was an absolutely impactful and engaging insight into things that we take for granted. And I can't wait for her to share more with you. And my colleague, Tiffany Stewart, is going to formally introduce Dr. Kelly. Tiffany?
Good evening, everyone. Dr. Grace Kelly, a servant leader who leads with integrity, compassion, and excellence, possessing years of progressive professional accomplishments as an associate professor, university administrator, counselor, corporate trainer, international motivational speaker, grief and trauma therapist, coach, crisis interventionist, and international bestseller visionary author. She provides individuals, groups, and teams in organizations and communities with effective tools to survive and thrive amidst chaos. She excels in creating and delivering stimulating, Christ-centered, client-focused services, care, and support. Dr. Kelly is dedicated to building resilience, enhancing positive emotional well-being, and cultivating a compassionate culture within families, organizations, and communities. Dr. Kelly?
Good evening, everyone.
And welcome again, Dr. Kelly.
It's my absolute pleasure to be here. And I pray and hope that the energy will be maintained, and I'll give you a little insight into that. I've been asked to share, and I've been sharing, not just on this platform, but in the actual communities across Jamaica. And I've seen it, if you want to say I've seen it all, I've seen a lot. Disney, that's the name, Disney. I've been to your area, well, I've been to Sav, been to areas in Westmoreland, Hanover, passed through St. Catherine, right through across the island, north and south coast. And like we would have shared, there is nothing like seeing what's happening out there on the ground with your very two eyes. And I happen to have gone home. I tell you, I refuse to take a picture because I don't want to remember that. But I'm glad for what happened earlier. Dr. Ija, really appreciate the centering that you did. And I really hope that everyone here, Cheryl, everyone here would practice that. Tiffany, thank you for the introduction. It's an amazing time that we are in. And psychological first aid is designed for a particular purpose. And I'm back with my illusion. What do you see? It's something different, not the woman this time. But what do you see, those of you who are on the platform, when you look at this? If you have seen it and have worked with it intimately, give somebody else a chance to look. Who would like to take the challenge? What is it that you're seeing? Type it in the chat or open your mic. Hello, hello, hello. And remember, I'll be calling you out because we are talking together. I'm not talking to you. Yes, thank you. What do you see?
Okay, so I'm seeing two things. I'm seeing a rabbit with his ears, pulled back, and I'm also seeing a bird.
Okay, thank you. And
You're
this
welcome.
is your first time seeing it?
It's the first time I'm seeing this image.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else? What do you see? Do you see the bird and the rabbit?
Yes, I'm
Yes,
actually
yes.
seeing the bird's beak would be the rabbit's ears.
Church. All right. Thank
Depending on
you.
what you're focusing on, though, you lose sight of what you saw first. It's hard to see both at the
Exactly.
same time.
Exactly. You're so correct. And we do this because we want to have an appreciation. And again, I'm back with my thumb or my fingerprint. There's no two-person alike, and no one can be, even if all of us were in the same setting, the same house, at this similar spot, because you wouldn't be able to be in the same spot because of your feet. But the house collapsed, whatever happens, everyone, when we ask, we are gonna get a different response because each of us respond to trauma, to situations differently. And thank you both for sharing. You're correct, it's a rabbit and a bird. Last week, for those of you who are here who were not here on Friday, we saw the elderly woman and the young lady. And we asked, I've often been asked, why do someone see one thing when another see another? And why is it that some people cannot see it at all? It is suggested that we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. Got that? put a thumbs up if you've got it. We don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. And difference doesn't mean wrong. Additionally, the brain uses what we call the perceptual biases. And we don't see what our eyes, with our eyes alone, we see with our experience. So it depends on your experience. You will see things differently. So we're talking about Hurricane Melissa and PFA, psychological first aid. What is psychological first aid? Psychological first aid is like having a cut, and the first thing that you do is to clean the area and apply a Band-Aid. The Band-Aid, if it is a deep cut, it cannot protect the area enough, but at least for the moment, it provides some form of support or protection from bacteria. So PFA offers humane, supportive, practical help after a crisis. It helps us to view the reaction of others through what we would say the trained normal eyes. We are looking on abnormal events. So those who provide psychosocial support are trained practitioners or trained supporters who are able to at least support so we can normalize the reaction or the thoughts or the things that are happening with the persons who have suffered. Importantly, we need to recognize that it's about, the goal is to provide safety, to provide comfort, stabilization, and connection and hope. And we will talk about that a little bit more. And I have these two pictures here, as I've shared before in different settings, and perhaps with those of you who are here. I try to stay away from the pictures that's going to trigger the deep memories and the pain that we suffered. But at least these. For some people, that's the top picture is extremely comfortable comparing to what is left of their home. We have bank managers, we have officers, police and white collar workers and blue and whatever color. But people from every strata, every level in our society have been affected. And so the scaling down, while they are trying to rebuild, the scaling down can be very impacting negatively. And so that's one of the reasons we do PFA. Again, here, somebody coming from a mansion, having just a place to lay their head is comforting. I heard on one of a YouTube thing I was watching about Black River and how the persons were going in and they were getting supplies. Some of them were taking it before it was handed to them. But I heard somebody made a declaration or an echo, a declaration that echoed. He said, "Me glad for Melissa, if storm never come, somehow we wouldn't get them a type of something and the kind of food where we are get now." And for those of you who may be on here, not able to understand our dialect in which I just spoke, he's actually celebrating that Melissa come so their life could be better. And somebody may ask, so what? How could you? But it is through their eyes. Before I start the actual interaction for you, be prepared. I may ask you a question for you to share and as we go through, because what's important is that you are going to go away with something that is going to benefit you. So one model that is used in responding in crisis and disaster is what we call the RAPID model. You go in, you build rapport. Hi, I noticed such a beautiful pair of eyes that you have. And amidst what's happening around you, I am seeing that smile coming through. Won't you let me see the beauty of your smile? And that person may just open up and just smile. You make them feel comfortable. You listen. Reflective listening means that you're going to listen to what they're saying. And I'm going to use, since Desmond, you're the last person who spoke about your situation, I'm going to use your example when you were talking. And please let me know if I'm correct. Did you say that your house was not damaged, but your neighbors and the persons within the community, they suffered greatly? And even when you're at work, you're thinking about them. And so you're very optimistic and eager to go back home to assist them. Am I correct?
Yes, yes, you are.
So that's what happened when thank you, when you're building rapport and you make the persons know that you're listening. You repeat, it may not be as long, but it could be, and they are talking and they mention the rose, and you may say, the rose. So they know that you're listening. So you listen and you repeat different words or phrases. Assess the needs. What is it that they need most? In one community, when I finally got through, and I can safely say it in my hometown, St. James, when I finally got through after 2 weeks of trying, we got a text before, maybe a week after, to say that we are okay. And then we got another, and we recognized that texts were coming in, so we typed, so what's happening on the ground? And the response was, all we need now would be some nails, zinc nails and wire nails, so we can get the roof over the head of our neighbors. In another community, an assessment was done. And believe me, the persons were saying that they need gasoline and dog food. And people were wondering, gasoline, dog food? I was wondering. Until I learned that they needed the gasoline so that they could use their power saw to get through cutting down the trees and clearing the roads instead of waiting on government. And they needed dog food because the dogs are the ones that are watching the business and the homes that are damaged, and they need to have them fed. What do they need? I heard on one of the intervention, then bring the food, then carry the food. We get no food, but nobody not even just tap and say how you do. You know, we've gotten all the food that we need. We are getting the supplies. We are being attended to, but we just want somebody to listen and to ask us how we are. Then when you figure out what the needs are, you prioritize. What can be done now? what can be done later. So you have short-term, medium-term, and long-term plan. And you act accordingly. Don't try to do everything all at once, because it doesn't work. Your brain can focus on one thing at a time. And so as you are helping, look at the task, make referral. Later on, we're going to talk about that a little more. Then intervene. Be respectful of the person's condition, their views, their orientation. Whatever you're doing, do it in a calm, supportive manner, respectful. And then later on, afterwards, you look at the next step, the D for disposition. So that's what the RAPID stands for. I'm going to go back to the next slide above, and I'd like for someone to tell me what RAPID represents, just the first words. The R means?
Rapport.
Awesome. A?
Assess.
Assessing the needs. P? Prioritize. I? Intervene. That's when you do the intervention. And the D is what we do when we plan for the next step, the disposition. So that's what RAPID stands for. Do I have a question or a
Yes,
statement? Go ahead.
Dr. Kelly.
Yes, sir.
Erica has had her hand raised. Erica, would you
Okay.
like to share at this time? Erica, saw your hand raised. Was that
Okay.
intentional?
Yes, it was from the time when Doc was talking about the image, about different persons seeing things differently. But I wanted to
Okay.
ask the question from that time, but I didn't get the opportunity to, so I just waited.
It's okay.
I
You could
wanted
go
You
to
can
ahead
go
now.
now.
Okay, I wanted to ask the question, what about those persons who can see from both angles, from both perspectives? So the person who can see the old lady and the young lady, and the persons who can see the bird and the rabbit.
Mhm. It's just that they have the ability to see from an aerial perspective, I would say. So they see the global, they see everything. So it's not a psychological diagnosis or anything, as was mentioned. People see as a result of their experience, and you don't just see with your eyes, you see with your experience and so on. But those persons are able to have an aerial view. They can see everything together, while others have to be able to see in parts or more sequential. Does
Okay.
that answer your question?
Yes.
You're welcome. All right. If there is no other comment or question at this time, we'll move to the common emotional reactions. So yes, people are going to be shocked, they're going to be confused, they're going to be exhausted, they're going to be fearful, and they're going to be irritable. And so you're going to find a lot of different behavior patterns as we go through the interaction with them on the site, or even in our offices, in our homes, and so on. The moods change. And so we have to be more responsive and respectful, and also understanding that this is something that happens, which is normal. But though it appears abnormal for that person to behave the way they are, it is a normal thing after a disaster or during a crisis for those to be revealed. Now, it's true that people say if you don't have it in you, it can't come out. But maybe if the person is a converted Peter, you know, for those of us who understand what Peter did when he used the different language, the fisherman's language. If you're converted, normally when we are in a crisis, you know, it takes us back to the core of who we are and the core of our experience. So our utterances going to be reflected accordingly. All right. There are other things that happen: disorientation, panic attack, withdrawal, and sometimes even suicidal talk. Has anyone experienced directly or vicariously? Have you seen anyone displaying some of these emotional reactions? We are waiting.
I'm so sorry. I'd just like to add, and I'm sorry to be jumping in like this.
No, go
I'm just
ahead.
having a little challenge with the device I'm using to raise the hand and use the chat. But personally, while I know better, I still, when I'm driving home on the weekend and when I'm returning, and I see the children on the street begging because the adults are now putting them forward. And that may be a good 4 hours ride and now, and I'm crying the entire way. And I know it's just a situation now, but it's just so hard. So yes, I realize I really need to pay more attention to emotionally how I'm dealing with all of this. But it is extremely hard. So, you know, just it's seeing everything and being there while it was happening, it leaves that sort of a impact that, you know, while I said earlier that it really could have been worse, it's hard to say that to someone, you know. I'm saying I'm thankful for life and all of that. But in the moment, to comfort someone with that, it is still very hard because I break down and cry in the car and have to turn away my head when you know. But yes, I know that this sort of a support is really critical at this time for all of us, whether we're there in the heart of it or we're away.
Right. I appreciate your share, and I've been smiling, and the smile is a form of affirmation, and also just to let you know, in a few moments we're going to share how we can probably treat with, not probably, or we can definitely treat with some of those. I hope this shows up the way I wanted. Those of you who are looking at it, this is something that happened. Daydreaming also, where persons may be even at work and they are dreaming that the storm has happened again. You know, so it can, there's a lot of things that can happen. The mind is a unique and powerful instrument, and it is our greatest asset. And this is one way in which we can use it. In a bit, I'm going to run through some of these. I may not go through all of them, but persons are going to feel confused. Persons are going to be jumpy, overly alert. Some persons are going to experience crying and laughter, as you would have expressed. Others going to have trouble sleeping. And there are others who are going to have issues with appetite. And I usually share with my audience the seafood diet. Now that we don't have much vegetation, some people still move to the seafood diet, but the seafood diet that they go on is everything that they see, they eat, not necessarily that it is from the sea. And then the appetite change now can cause them to eat one meal per day. They get up in the morning, they eat right through to the midnight, and they go to sleep for 4 hours, and they get up, and the first thing they do is to start eating again. Those abnormal kind of behavior happens during and after a disaster, which within the context can be classified as normal abnormalities. I don't know if we can do that, but they say as a doctor, you can make up words. So I'm trying that this afternoon. Wanting to withdraw from others, so they isolate themselves. And one of the challenges that we do have, we suspect and we also say that people who keep quiet have not been affected by the disaster, and that is absolutely not true. All right, so they have difficulty making simple decisions afterwards also. So folks, here are some things that we during this period we want to maintain. Don't say some things like this. That's one of the reasons I smile. At least you survived. That can be so insensitive, even though it is meant as a good thing to say to somebody, at least you survived. But instead of saying that, say, I'm so sorry you're going through this. How can I support you right now? Pay attention. I'll be asking you to share with me at the end. I know exactly how you feel. No. Remember the pictures at the beginning and the thumb, the prints? Nobody can, no two persons see things alike. So you say, I may not fully understand what you're going through, what you're feeling, but I care and I'm here, or I care and I'm listening. Whatever version you use, importantly, let them know that you do not understand, but you care enough. Others had it worse than you. Wow. Your feelings are valid. This was difficult and real. So you're validating their feelings. You should be over that by now. It's 4 weeks. Oh no, don't say that. Healing does take time. So take time, take the time you need to heal. Everything happened for a reason. Oh my. What reason can you think of right now? Don't say that. Say, I'm here with you as you process this. Don't cry. Oops. It's okay to feel emotionally disturbed. It's okay to feel emotional. You are safe right here, right now. And make sure that whatever is happening, the space they are in appears to, it looks like, it feels like, and safety, and they can trust. We dealt with that already. Everything happened for a reason. Those two are repeats. Calm down. Nope. Take your time. I'm right here with you. Stay strong. I mean, that's good to say, but how can I be strong when everything around me spells chaos? I'm exhausted. Everybody's looking towards me to be their leader and their strength. No, you say something like this. It's okay not to be okay. You don't have to be strong for anyone. You are allowed to feel what you feel. Talk to me. Anyone resonates with you? And how are we going to use this moving forward? Write it in the chat or open your mic. And it's okay to open your mic if you can't find your raise hand. Okay.
Okay, well, I'd like to go first and thank you, Dr. Kelly, for sharing these very useful suggestions and good alternatives in communicating with others. I think sometime in our cultures, with the best of intent, we want to always inject positivity, even in the worst of times, even in the most difficult of times. And we see that when somebody lose someone, we tell them, oh, everything happened for a reason, God knows best, etc. My biggest pet peeve is the one about at least you survive. I hear it so often, I see it so much on social media. And I think so many people should really be part of this webinar. If they learn nothing else today, they'll learn how to connect. Dr. I just started out with connecting, and this is one of the best ways we can connect by, being more empathetic and saying the right things. So saying to someone, how can I support you at this time? I think is one of my favorites from your list. And I'll ask for others to share their contribution now as well.
I appreciate your sharing, Cheryl. Is there anyone written anything in the chat? And don't feel afraid, just because we are here for you. Talk, ask questions. In another few minutes.
In the chat, but everyone, you're welcome to open your mic and share with Dr. Kelly.
Okay. Well, it is either clear as mud or some persons may not have any question.
Hello, Dr. Kelly.
Hello.
Right. Yes.
Hi.
I'm okay. Yeah. Two of those phrases resonated with me because they have been said to me so many times, and I really don't feel better after it. And I know that it is with the best intentions, as you said, but I didn't go away from the conversation feeling better, or I didn't feel like they understood. But I think it's a case where they just don't know what to say.
You're correct. And as was mentioned, it's with the best intention. You see, if the person's in the situation says it, they are experiencing it and they say, well, why me glad say at least me have my life, me can build back, whatever, however they express themselves. If they use any of the ones we suggest that we should not use in interacting with individual, what you would do is validate them to say, well, I'm glad you said that, but please understand, let's say they say they have to be strong for all of their family members and they are happy at least they are around and everybody was able to come by their house. They were able to cook 15 or 20, feed 50 people, because I've heard those a lot and they are celebrating that they are the strong one. You could say, I'm glad you are sharing that. And I would just want to support you through this and let you know that you really you do not have to be strong for everyone. It's okay not to be okay. And it's okay to take time to breathe. Are you getting that? So if they say it and they are celebrating and they're excited about it, don't squash them and say, no, you should never say this. Support them, but help them to appreciate it differently. I want to go through some of these. I'm not going to go through all of them, so I'm just going to put at least 4 at a time on the screen, so you could be reading while you're listening. But these are some of the things that we are going to do to shift our focus and to strengthen our resolve and our ability to be in a position where we can help ourselves first and others. Cognitive reframing is one. Dr. Ija did such a good job with the breathing. I'm going to leave that one out. Instead of saying, somebody, you know, I've lost everything, what this is saying is that you're shifting the negative experience through hope, or you're replacing or reframing. I lost everything. So instead of saying that, what is it that they could say? I survive. And if I survive, I can rebuild. Now, you may say this is contradicting to what was said earlier. It is not contradicting, but you could, instead of saying it that way, you could put it in a question form. Has it come to mind that? Or what else comes to your mind? And you draw from them. Let them tell you the positive rather than you saying that. And you work with them until they say something to the effect that, you know, as long as I'm surviving, I've survived. So you're reframing, you're changing the thought pattern. Anybody wants to give me an experience or an example of cognitive reframing? Similar to what I just did? From an experience you've had or you may have observed? Remember, you know, I told you from the beginning that we are interacting. I'm not talking down or to, we are talking with each other. And that's all we know, that you are able to go away with some skills or some things, all right? So if you take more than 30 seconds to respond, I'm going to be moving forward. So then narrative therapy and journaling, I tell you, this thing is so powerful. The narrative therapy, it allows someone to write, focusing on gratitude and progress. But what I like about narrative therapy, especially as it relates to transforming trauma into meaningful experience, you are able to support persons to write. And that's one of the skills I've grown to possess, to write their story without sharing their business. In the sense that you don't have to tell all the good details, but listen how it works. You write, and if you were to appreciate this, I would say your first draft should be on tissue. So when you finish, you may need to flush it because nobody else can see it, because it is such deep pain that one has experienced. In hurricane and disaster like these, it's okay, you can write naturally, but what if someone was sexually assaulted and they lost their pride? They feel that life has left them. They don't want to remember all the gory details, but they can write it out. And if you give them an opportunity to say, write it, I will not even read it. You're going to write it on this and you're going to get it out of your system. That's the importance of writing and breathing and so on. The compassionate fatigue, I think that might have been mentioned earlier, but you care so much that you have nothing left to give. But we are saying, support from the overflow. Fill your cup. Be able to have the resilience, the courage, and the wherewithal to support someone before you do. Because if you don't, you are going to end up with what we call compassion fatigue. Community connection, that's something you can do. Support individuals to form groups and just sit down and talk. And the groups can be as informal as playing dominoes every Thursday night or in the dark until the light comes back. And while they're playing the dominoes, there are certain expressions, they talk about the situation and it works. But you can do more formal things later on. Physical activities energize the body and it converts stress into what? Purposeful action. Whether you clean in one setting when we ask, what do you do? And I'm going to ask in a bit. To manage your stress, somebody say, I just put on the music and I just start clean from one corner to the other. The rebuilding process and volunteering, helping others. So what one thing do you do to manage your stress? For me, I sing and dance. But you can't see me dance because I only do that in my bedroom. Anyone else? What do you do? Practical. Doesn't
Okay.
matter.
All right. So for me, I sing and dance as well.
Okay.
I sing, I dance, I write poetry, I clean. I do like spring cleaning. Always want the place to be clean. It makes me feel more relaxed and more at ease. I also love to cook. I like to cook healthy and delicious meals and do smoothies. Yes, and I also like to do my gardening. So I have a vegetable and a fruit and herb garden that I go
Awesome.
into. Yeah. So those are the things I do.
Man, you have a lot in your toolkit already.
Yes.
I hope you don't do the seafood diet, do you?
No, I'm vegetarian. And the only seafood I eat is fish.
All right, so it means I need to share my Cheryl. I may have to do that again for her to get it, eh? Seafood diet, Erica, is when somebody, they just, whatever they see, they eat when they are stressed.
Yes, I made sure to put it in the chat.
All right, thank you for sharing, Erica.
You're
Lovely.
welcome.
Right, and even if Erica has shared what you do, still give us a little idea of what you do, because it does help. Others are listening and they may be listening later on for replays if we have the opportunity to do that. Any other thing that you do?
In addition to watching food videos, I sit and listen to the purr of my cat. Love it.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. We'll take one more in 30 seconds. If we don't hear a voice, we'll move on. All right, so we move on to the labeling. This is the only time labeling is acceptable. It's not acceptable when somebody has a disability and those kind of stuff. You need to label your emotions and do that without judgment and help others to do that. How did it make you feel? And use actual feeling words. Angry, afraid. It is suggested that naming the emotions reduce the intensity of what's happening. So it reduces the intensity of fear and anger. What else do you feel? Put it in the chat. How can you name your feeling? And remember, pain not identified and owned cannot be healed. So that's another reason to name your pain. And I've not heard a voice, so may we move on. Spiritual anchoring is very, very important. The use of faith and prayer or worship as, grounding tools to bring comfort and peace to yourself. And when you do it, and that's one of the things I like about how Dr. Ija did the breathing and the centering and the grounding exercise. It has become a part of him. It's not just sharing with us, but if you listened, you realize that it is a part of who he is. So we have to ground ourselves. And if it is faith-based, do it. And for me, while this may not seem as the common ones, he is my stronghold and all of that, my grounding statement is, for what I do know about God, I can trust him for what I do not know. So I can face the impossible with God. That's all that it is saying. I'm going to finish these few and then we'll ask one person to share what resonates. So be ready to share. Strength spotting and affirmations. Identify personal strength that helps you survive. Is it that you're resourceful? Is it that you're courageous? What is it? Next, controlled exposure to unsafe expressions. Please, as we look at what's happening around us, as we travel, it's okay to revisit the traumatic experience and draw it or visualize it or tell your story or in group therapy. We had an intervention recently and some of the people, they bawl. We can't say they cry because that are not cry, bawl, them bawl. They echoed and expressed that this is the first time they had an opportunity to talk about what happened. Then the mindful media and sensory detox. Limit the amount of distressing media and replace it with sounds of nature, scriptures, or other music. Because if we are not careful, the sensation on the media will take us like the eye of the storm. I heard so many birds were in there apparently migrating with the storm, or they just pick them up. We have to be careful how we manage our mind. And I can't help but telling this story. The lady was in the hospital with her niece, and she had to go home. And so she left her. She was in the emergency room. And the curtains.
Dr. Kelly?
Are you hearing me still? Yes,
you
the
cannot
light
talk
just went
closer
and came back. The light just went. Are you hearing me now?
we can still hear you.
Wonderful. The light went
Okay.
and came back. So apparently the
Okay.
internet was running. Okay, it's a good thing that my expressions were honorable. Okay, so this young lady had to be in the emergency room with a man on the other side of the curtain, and the nurses were just there talking, and no disrespect to nurses if you're on or if you're going to be seeing this, but they were just talking a lot. And when they left, the gentleman pulled the screen and said to the young lady, Mrs., me no have no space for that. No vacancy in my brain. And the young lady, you know, she frowned a little, you know, I don't understand you. But he explained, no vacancy. So you give notice to anything and anybody who wants to come and rent the space in your brain. So guard your brain from some of these things because they could keep you rocking and taking you back to where you have been, where you want to leave from to higher ground. So, Desney, you mentioned about traveling down and seeing these things, and it's the same thing. But don't close your eyes when you're driving. I want to see you alive. All right? Post-traumatic stress, post-traumatic growth, that is basically reflecting on transform the pain into purpose and setting small, meaningful goals. All right. So what is it that you are going to do? Are you going to help somebody in the meantime while you're waiting for your thing to be done? Are you going to write your story so that your children and grandchildren will learn about what happened during this time? All right. So I told you I will ask one person to share what resonates with you because I want to hasten to the end so Dr. Ija can come back to give you some very important information. What resonates with you with all of those 12 different things that you can do? One person? Don't believe that your neighbor is going to talk.
Open mic or post in chat is welcome.
In the interest of time, I'm going to go on with my PQ reps. And I'm sorry, Cheryl, you may have to be the one to demonstrate for me because the light hasn't come back in my space as yet. It has to pass through some protective stuff.
Okay.
All right, thanks. So the PQ, mindful breathing, we are going to do 2 reps. Imagine that your lung is a balloon. So you are taking in 3 counts of breath. Normally I do 4. In the interest of time, I'll do 3. You can do 4, 7, 8. They have different types out there. All right, so you take a sip in when I say in. You take a deep breath in. Oops. 2, 3. Hold. 2, 3. Out. In through the nostril, out through the nose, even though the research is showing that breathing through the nostril, in and out, allows more energy to pass through. Because the breath, the fresh air, is what brings the oxygen that gives you energy. In, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, out. The brain is a powerful thing. I'm used to the 4. Tell me if you feel any different. Just type it in the chat. And what you can do when you're taking in the breath, you take in something positive. When you're exhaling, you exhale something negative. Sensory awareness. You look around you. What 4 things you are seeing or 5 things you are seeing that you never observed before I ask you to? So if you feel challenged and you getting anxious and probably feeling that you're going to go, hey, just shift your focus. Look at 5 things you can see. Look at some things you can hear, some things you can touch, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste, and anchor the mind in that present moment.
Well, I can say that when I close my eyes, when I do the breathing exercise, I actually I can feel the slowing of my heart rate.
Ooh, awesome.
Yeah. Because when I
Thank
close
you.
my eyes, I'm focusing on the breathing, so I'm not distracted by all the things around me.
Awesome.
And I hear more white noises, like I can hear the little tingle from the light bulb, you know, or I might hear the little crickets or the night noises more than when I'm looking around. So yes, the breathing exercise is calming.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that's what, you're most welcome. Thank you for sharing. That's what some people pay lots of money to learn when they are having panic attacks and anxiety disorders, all those kind of stuff. So thank you, Cheryl, for sharing that. And anyone else who has something, you can, it's okay, just pause. As soon as I have a pause, you can just say what you have to say. The touch or texture, you know, yep. Are you seeing me now? But
Yes, we
still
can
look at
see you.
Cheryl.
We can see you clearly now. The light is fully back on you.
Awesome. Yes. All right. Cheryl, still do this. Those of you
Okay.
who have your mic. So rub your fingers together, feel the texture and the warmth. Breathe. And this should calm the brain's fear response. Another one, very simple. Just put your hand together and hold it for a few seconds and feel the warmth in it. And then you can shift your hands like this. Keep your left hand up and just caress your palm. And you do that. Most of these things we recommend 6 or 7 reps, but in the interest of time, we are just showing you some of the things you can do. Body scan, this is one of my favorite. I'm loving it now. Use your eyes, as it were, but for right now, you can sit flat with your feet on the floor and just twiddle your toes and make sure all 10 of them are on your feet. Because sometimes we get up and we run and we don't even check, are my toes there? And your feet are there, and think of what's happening in your body. And you can go from toes right through up till you get to the top of your head, or you can go from the top of your head to the tip of your toes. Just scan your body, and wherever you find tension, just do a movement. Because they say what the body keeps the score, but just use some movement. If it's in your shoulder, if it is in your arm, twist. Wherever you feel it, do some movements to release the tension. Again, earlier, Dr. Aija did the compassion visualization. So I won't repeat it, but if anyone came afterwards, what it is suggesting is that you visualize someone who you love or admire and send them feeling of peace and compassion through your thoughts. Gratitude rep, identify 3 things for which you are thankful or grateful this moment, and you focus on those, and that helps to strengthen resilience. Purpose anchor rep, repeat the faith-based grounding statements such as, God is my refuge and strength. And you just anchor. That helps to anchor hope and stability. God is my present help. So those are the 7 PQ reps that we would share with you. And even though we did not go in detail, I hope you've got it enough that you'll be able to utilize it. I'm going to leave it on the screen while I ask two persons now to demonstrate or share with us how you are going to use any one of these. Any two. I know you're with me, you know. I am confident you are there. And I know that the time you pause, you are actually thinking about them, and some of you are actually practicing them in the background. But we just want to know that we are still connected. That's why I ask the questions. All right, do I have a taker?
I'll take it. I'm worried that you're seeing me practicing the movement from head to toe. We're just
Okay.
releasing tension and making sure that all my body parts are intact.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Erica. Anyone else? We sometimes, when we are in the group outside, we do this one. I've got a spirit in my head and it's keeping me alive, keeping me alive, keeping me alive. I got the spirit in my head and it's keeping me alive. Jesus is keeping me alive. And then you say, I got the spirit in my shoulder. Come on, Cheryl. And that's keeping me alive. Cheryl, do your shoulders, man. Keeping me alive. And then you go to your arms and your legs and your knees and so on. So you just be creative and do the movements so that your body can release the tension. Yes, I see
Movement
Eric.
is good.
It's extremely good.
All right.
All right. Do I have 5 more minutes to close off so that Doc can come in? I am not done, but do I have that? Other PQ rep. This one, I like it, the 5-step process. So you pause. So pause right now. Notice when the thoughts are spiraling into fear and judgment. Or you can notice when the tension is coming on. You notice I'm touching my back. And for some people, that's where they feel the tension. So notice that. Then you identify the source of it. What is it? Is it my own fear? Is it my own challenge? Or is it the fact that I'm thinking about others? Is it my internal saboteurs? I wouldn't go through that, but it's just the fear factor, that thing that keeps you where you struggle to be yourself. You struggle to be able to just live, be alive. You know, there are some persons, while they are alive, they are not living. So they thrive. That thing that prevents you from doing that. And then you shift your focus, use any of the 12 PQ reps that I shared. And then you do several repetitions of that until the emotions changes. There's something I want you to do. Be conscious about it now. I want you to inhale. And when you inhale, inhale with a smile and tell me what that does. Wow. Write it in the chat. The other thing, drop your tongue. Simple as that. Drop your tongue. You notice that your tongue, if we do notice, our tongue is always cleaving to the top of our tongue. Drop your tongue. Let it loose and relax. Take a deep breath. So you can do even that. And then you can ask at an appropriate time when you would have overcome or not overcome, when you would have gotten through the challenge to a point where you can ask, what's the gift or the opportunity? How can I respond with empathy and wisdom? Then seek to normalize the reaction. So we said that earlier, so I'm not going to go in more detail. Help the persons to know that what they are feeling is normal, given the traumatic event they've experienced. Acknowledge their feelings and allow the individual to express their feelings and acknowledge these feelings without judgment. Promote self-care. It's very, very important. Encourage individual, and you too, encourage yourself to practice self-care by engaging in activity that helps you relax and rebuild your sense of safety and security. Remember, I'm going to ask when we finish, so which one resonates with you? Connect to resources. Connect the individuals to resources that can provide additional support, such as counseling and or trauma-informed services. And please encourage self-expression. Let them have the outlet. They could dance, they could write, they could perform something, just do something and express yourself in a positive way. And I'm going to close off with this circle of control, what I can control and what I cannot. And the reason I incorporate this in these kinds of presentation most recently is that many people are concerned, they are frightened, they are challenged, and the experience has become difficult for them because they are thinking that there is something that they possibly could do. And if you didn't cause it, if you couldn't control it, and if you couldn't change it, there's nothing you could do. What's out of your control? What happens around you, you don't have control about that. What other people think of you, you have no control. The outcome of your effort and how others take care of themselves. You don't even have control over the past nor the future. The actions of others, worse, you don't. And the opinions of others. What do I control? I control my boundaries. I control my thoughts and actions. I control the goals I set. I control what I give my energy to. I control how I speak to myself, and I control how I handle challenges. Talk to me about anything in the last few minutes that resonates with you as we bring this aspect to a close. Anyone, one thing that resonates with you in the latter part of this conversation. The movie says, are we there yet? And I'm saying, are we still here?
Oh, yes, we are. We're all here.
The importance of self-care.
Thank you.
We need to
Appreciate
do
that.
more of that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Erica.
You're welcome.
Any other?
In the
All
last
right.
part, just to indicate that this control that the model that you just shared really resonates with me. And I'm mindful that my response is something that I'm always in control of. So regardless of everything else that's happening, I can choose to respond the way that I prefer.
Thank you. So you're in control of your response and how you handle those. I appreciate your sharing. It has been, for me, an honor to share. And here is where we are wrapping up. Psychosocial first aid involves connecting individuals with relevant information, resources, or professional support. As we talk about the professional support, EMS is here, having access to a wide range of support services that you can tap into and you can refer persons to in order to get the right kind of help that will make them more resilient. Resilience speaks to the ability to bounce back. So it's like an elastic band. You stretch it, and you let it go. You bounce right back. Not everybody has the ability to do that naturally. So some of the things that I would have shared, like the PQ reps and the activities that we use, those are things that you can incorporate in your conversation, in your interaction with others. And importantly, how we help, we look, well, first of all, I appreciate a conversation with Dr. Aija that we need to emphasize the preparation. So all that we would have done since you've been on this platform was preparing you to be in a better position. So when you look, you can see beyond the natural eyes. And remember this activity we started out, you see not just with your eyes, but you see with your experience. So you look, you listen, and then you link them to the appropriate places, and the disaster preparedness and emergency management, and also the Jamaica Red Cross. And if persons are having suicide ideation and other things, you allow them to call the number from the Ministry of Health. And so what I would say to you as we put it together, take time out to appreciate what's happening around you. Take time out to learn how to manage your situation. Take time out to learn how to use the information to connect others and to support them. But most importantly, take time out before time takes you out.
Dr. Kelly, thank you so much. That was exceptionally well delivered presentation. We are so appreciative for all the special tips, the tactical guidance that you have provided. It was very informative. I know even for those who haven't expressed themselves this evening, that they really must have benefited immensely from all the positive feedback, and just a clear guide for everyone to cope. I have a special note here that you, in your first slide, mentioned the PFA, the psychological first aid, as being particularly about humane, supportive, practical help after crisis, which you have clearly demonstrated with your presentation. And the goal is for safety, comfort, stabilization, and connection with hope. Thank you again. I know I have also personally benefited every time that you present. It's like I learned something new. So we look forward to seeing you in part 3 of our 4-part webinar series. And really appreciate you. Thank you so much. So we're going to welcome Dr. Thompson. Dr. Thompson, are you ready and raring to go? I know you're under pressure to I know you're under pressure to package it, nice and
tight, right?
timely, right?
Yes, indeed.
Right.
Well, I think if you got the ability to help persons mentally and
right.
navigate the stresses that will come, then you'd have gotten what I would want you to leave with, because you can now establish a caring connection, right? And as I said, that's the big purpose here, right? But as we're making connection, it's important that these connections be kept healthy, right? Because we don't want you to have this care, but then all of a sudden you're ill, right? And you are held back from continuing the care because you're ill. And so we wanted to give you some, well, in as urgent, in as quicker way as we can, ways to prevent and treat common illnesses that follows hurricanes and heavy rains. But you know, at the center of it all is the fact that we need to take care of our brains and we need to take care of our body. Because as Jim Rohn puts it, they're the only place we have to live. And for those of us who are biblical oriented, we know that, you know, our body and our mind is a temple for God to act through us, right? And so it's so important that as we care carefully, that in such a way that our brains and bodies become optimal place to live. So, quick question for you all, very quick. You know, what illness, what symptoms are you most concerned about right now? Yeah, I'm sure if you scroll the social media streams, you may see some of these that I've put here. But from your own thoughts, what are you most worried about? What are you most concerned about now, in terms of illnesses, symptoms, otherwise? Erica, may I ask you?
Okay, Dr. Thompson, I'm a little bit concerned about leptospirosis and
Leptospirosis. Can we hear about this outbreak, right? 11 people
yes,
and counting,
right, and tetanus. So
and tetanus as well. Yeah, but I couldn't tell when last I've seen tetanus, and I've been practicing for 22 years, right? And
wow.
to hear about what 3 cases I think it was,
Yes,
since the hurricane, right? And
yes,
you know, this is the reality that once we get into situations in which the barriers that normally hold disease back is broken, then we find that it rears its ugly head. And so it is so important for us to recognize that there's an increased risk of transmission and disease spread because the barriers have been broken by flooding, the barriers have been broken by the power cuts that normally keep things cold and frozen, the barriers have been broken by the reduced hygiene practices, and of course, because we are disconnected from each other in terms of our ability to get help, we find that there's an opportunity for disease to breed and to now um, have our non-communicable diseases get worse. And so the barriers have been broken. And because the barriers are broken, then we find that our vulnerable populations tend to succumb more, whether it's the babies, the pregnant women, the elderly, the immunocompromised. We also find that it's more difficult to keep the things that are at the foundation of Maslow's hierarchy for us, our basic needs, our food and water. It's harder to keep them safe. We find that because we're closer together at homes, because we're now sharing spaces. The cousin that came up, you saw the picture of the shelter earlier, right? We're in much closer proximity to each other. And so because of that, it's so much easier for disease to move. Of course, you heard so much about emotional and behavioral challenges that we have to help each other with. But hold in mind that the reason why we really have to do this is because we have open emotional circuits, right? So my emotional circuit is connected to yours, just like my ears can't be closed. I can't close off my awareness of your emotion. So if I step into a room and your sadness, I feel sadness. Can't do anything about it. And of course, some of us, the behaviors that we see, then we just mimic them, right? Something called mirroring. And so these things can lead to high risk behaviors, injuries, and so many things, right? And then, of course, the final one, why is this such an important thing to hold on to? We know from COVID and all these pandemics that we've been so worried about whether it's associated with cholera, you name it, tuberculosis. There are diseases that move from animals and move from other humans and spread like the air just moved it around, right? But the reality is it actually moved from an animal or another human being. But because we are now moving around and because we are now we're in closer contact to animals, then what we find, or we're in different types of contact with animals that we would have not normally been in, then we find that we now need to be on the strong alert to be aware and have that surveillance or that level of vigilance around us to recognize and spot that something is going on here, right? So these are the reasons why after the aftermath of hurricanes, we tend to see things that we don't normally see before. As I said, 22 years, I've given so much tetanus injections, I've never seen a tetanus case or case of in which tetanus has manifested itself, right? I'm sure some persons might have gotten it, but the manifestation of it never came up. Um, Leptospirosis, I can easily say throughout my 22 years, I've only seen 3 cases in practice and 11 in the space of 4 weeks, right? So this is a serious thing, all right? We've recently come through a very big spike in dengue, and so we know dengue is here at an endemic level. However, we're expecting that we're going to start to see more cases of dengue and so forth. Now, where does these disease tend to multiply? And anybody for a quick prize? I'm sure we can give away a prize, right, Cheryl? Where do these
Absolutely. I don't
certainly?
know, maybe I might be playing devil's advocate by suggesting that you pick on somebody else.
All right. So Desby, where do these diseases multiply? We know why we know why we have to really have that consciousness, right? Why is it that we need to be careful as we care, right? The barriers become broken, the vulnerable groups, the transmission for to others, the open circuits that we have mentally, these are all, the foundations behind the multiplication of these conditions. But where do they reside?
Uh, you mean the physical space because they're right in and around us.
I love that. I love how you put that. And again, I like it just because of the what they call it, practicality of your answer. I think you should just get a prize for that, right? But of course, they tend to reside in the different organs that they will infect and manifest, right? So there are those that will target the respiratory tract, those that will target the skin, the gut, the muscles, and of course our minds, right? And but in harboring in these spaces, even though they may have preferences for these spaces, the way we treat them and the way in which we prevent them tends to be slightly different. We tend to treat them and prevent them by virtue of where they're coming from, not so much where they're multiplying. And so where they're coming from is that they're coming through the air, they're coming through the water and the food, they're coming through vectors, the mosquitoes, they're coming through the environment, contact with contaminated surfaces, direct with other people, where there's lack of access to healthcare, and where there are behavioral problems where persons self-inflict um, harm by virtue of their high risk behaviors, high risk lifestyle, poor hygiene, and so forth. So we tend to treat them and prevent them not so much by where they harboring us, but by how they tend to get to us. And so this slide will come back to, and of course, my time will have to be carefully managed. So having that little foundation, why is this such an important thing? And whether because of your social media stream or the true reality that there are some scientifically validated understandings of why we tend to see a surge after hurricanes and rains, heavy rains. I'm hoping for each and every one of you, you don't just take the things on your social media streams or on the news lightly, because we are expecting these surges, and the only way that we're going to minimize the surges is if we're going to be putting some defenses in place to prevent, and some mechanisms to treat early, right? So we do want you guys to benefit from this because we want you to build more care and relationships, but we don't want you to be spreading or collecting things that will make those relationships difficult to maintain. My next question, what symptoms have you been actively fighting off since the hurricane? What have you been actively fighting off? Anyone? Let's pick Tiffany. Tiffany there? Tiffany's not
Yes,
with
I
us.
am.
Oh, go right ahead, Tiffany. You've been fighting off since the hurricane.
Ha.
Uh, Jamaica
I,
is Jamaica we live, so we're very
mosquitoes.
mosquitoes. Boy, I tell you, I have
And
never
for
That's a
me,
major symptom for sure.
I have to be extra vigilant because I have
I
children. So
so true, so true.
mosquitoes.
I tell my mother lock that door as soon as you walk through it, right? Because I don't want one mosquito flying. Every window have mosquito mesh. And I tell you, every single thing. I've been fighting off the mosquitoes. I'm right with you, right? Anybody else? What have you been fighting off since the hurricanes? What have you been putting up defenses against?
One of our team members is out fully down with the flu. And I mean, she didn't even come into office all week. And I don't know if it's telepathic or it's man of a matter, but like the day after she called in sick, I started to feel us like dry, itchy throat. And I
True, and
started dosing up right away.
with some vitamins and things, right?
But I'm
Vitamin
constantly
C.
on multivitamins, but I took an antihistamine just to be on the safe side.
Just to be on the safe side. Yeah, and so a lot of us are fighting off the flu and getting airborne illnesses. So we stay away from people who are having it. Some people have even started to wear about masks,
Yes.
and others. So there are lots of different ways in which we put our efforts into this, right? And what I want to remind is that no matter what you're trying to fight off, right, it's going to be based on the way in which it moves. That's going to really help you, right? So if you're trying to fight off dengue or you're trying to fight off malaria or, you name it, whichever vector-borne ailments that you're looking at, of course, our big one, leptospirosis right now, is vector based. So we're gonna have to deal with we're gonna have to deal with the organism that is carrying that germ, which is rats and animals for leptospirosis and mosquitoes for dengue. We're gonna have to deal with that in terms of the tires, in terms of the cleanliness of the environment, and ensure that our water is kept, or water and food is kept in spaces that it doesn't get contaminated. The same thing for things that affect our skin, right? It's not just simply about, the disease itself, as I said, it's about recognizing the environment and how the pathogens come from the environment. If we want to prevent the pneumonia or the colds, then it's about recognizing how these airborne pathogens move about by how we want to ensure that people who are ill with the flu, they stay away from us. And of course, us as we move about in ways that we keep our hands sanitized and otherwise so that these airborne pathogens or droplet-based pathogens don't come to us. Tetanus, same sort of thing. It's because of the contact with infected materials that causes us to pick up the germ, right? And of course, these germs ultimately get to our nervous system and cause a lot of nervous diseases. Those that affect our intestine, it comes through our food, comes through our water, of course, your child from your hands. And I know some of us still have those childish ways. But of course, again, the point here is just to recognize if we're going to prevent it, it's starting to recognize the sources of it. Not so much where it breeds, in us, but get to understand that, our worms, they come from the animals, whether we eat them or we keep them around us, and they come across, right? So we're aware. Or non-communicable diseases, even though they tend to be socially transmitted in terms of practices. If we don't have access to the care that we need, health care, then we find that they get worse. And then, of course, behavioral diseases, sexually transmitted diseases, urinary tract diseases, injuries, accidents, things like those. They come because of our behavior patterns. And so if we're going to prevent them, then we're going to have to be looking at the blue part, not so much at the black part. Because yes, we don't want the leptospirosis. But we're gonna recognize that the way in which we're gonna prevent that is how we manage the rodents, or if we're afraid of dengue, how we manage the mosquitoes and so forth. And so if we're gonna be caring carefully as we think about going into the affected zone, or how we think about we maintain our own spaces, then there are certain key prevention strategies that we learned just 4 years ago. Just 4 years ago, there was an outbreak of COVID-19, and we learned these little phrases. Be responsible, right? Keep it covered. Be wise, sanitize, be smart, stay apart, and of course, be careful by sharing and share the information, and of course, share your connection with others to help to be able to reduce the risk. And so the same sort of reality is here right now, but from many fronts. It's not just an airborne issue. We're looking at vector issues. We're looking at behavioral issues. We're looking at access issues. There's so many different ones coming simultaneously. So it calls on us to be a little bit more holistic as we're thinking about going into the affected zones. Bring your own water, bring your own food supplies, right? And this is not about being stingy, or looking at people badly, but recognize that, caring carefully means that you have to demonstrate, be a model for it, right? So each of us have to take responsibility for our food right now. Each of us have to take responsibility for our water. And the pipe water right now is not necessarily the safest thing to drink, because very easily it is not as easy for the turbidity and the germs that enter the water. So we're asked to put bleach, 1 to 2 drops of bleach per gallon in our waters, or boil our waters before we drink from the regular sources. Or of course, if it's affordable for you, you buy water that is already dealt with through the different purification processes, right? Wear water resistant shoe as you're moving into wet areas. This is how the germs such as worms, or we become affected by the urine infected or germ infected waters, or the well, as you think about it, I mean, whether it is the water or it's the damp surfaces, you can have things transferred to you if your shoe or your clothes can now allow that organism to penetrate through to you. So water resistant shoe. The 70% alcohol is still good for most things. So your hand sanitizer, bring them back. Mosquito repellents, bring them back. Your gloves, your face mask, use your gloves when you're in these areas to prevent the actual germ from coming on your hand, which then goes to your face. And of course, that's diarrhea right away. Your face mask helps to prevent the airborne, especially, the good face masks allow airborne diseases from coming over to you. Or if you are affected, as we would normally put it, put the mask on the person who is affected, so it prevents the spread from going around, because sometimes the um, the ability to spread is best prevented from keeping the disease where it is, rather than you trying to say, okay, I'm just going to protect myself from wherever it is. If we keep it where it is by the person who's affected, wearing a mask, then it's very helpful. Long sleeve clothing certainly helps with several vectors, including mosquitoes. Vaccination. If you got your tetanus shot, then there's no worry about tetanus for you if you got it within the last 5 years, right? If 5 years has passed, then it's about time to reconsider that. Well, mind you, there are several vaccines that become valuable at different ages, especially in the elderly. As you get older, those pneumococcal shots that used to be valuable when you're a child now start to become valuable, or if you are immunocompromised for whatever reason, that you may have immune issues. Your first aid kit, is likely going to be your best friend, because as we go through these illnesses, we'll need to take care of ourselves, right? And so having the right things in your first aid kit is going to be handy. A list will be left with you so that you can cross-check what's in your medicine chest or your first aid kit to ensure that you have things that can help you to navigate, just as you looked at your the tools a while ago to keep in your psychological first aid kit, your physical first aid kit benefits, or your physical health first aid kit benefits from having the right things in it as well.
And I'd just like to interject, Doc, to let our participants know that the psychological first aid kit summary slide has been placed in the chat. Just one click and you can save and download it, or download and save it, whether on your phone or on your desktop.
Bless
That's
you.
it.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Treatments. So we just talked a little bit about prevention a while ago, based on the way in which the germ or the illness can get to manifest in different areas, looking at the sources, not so much the reservoirs that they can build up in us. What about treatment? What's your preference or for order of treatment when you're affected by an illness? Are you someone that says, just wait it out and see how it goes, or you're somebody who starts to boosting up with some home remedies, or get your favorite tea and start drinking up, or you're somebody just run to the doctor right away? What's your order for treatment? And probably I can just touch on someone very quickly. Probably I touch on Tracy very quickly, given the time. How do you start your treatment routines when you start to feel something coming on? You're affected or you feel ill? How do you approach it?
Okay, so I use my herbal remedies first.
You go herbal remedies
And
first. You're a herbal girl.
yes, and if that doesn't work,
Then,
yes, if that
then you
doesn't work,
Google
I go to
Google it.
the hospital.
I'll go to the hospital.
Well,
All right.
yeah,
I know we're in the
I get
Google
my
world and we're in
herbal
the AI
remedies from
world.
my parents. Hmm?
Yes. No, so I know we're in the Google world and AI world, right? So some people go to the Google it next, right? So I start with my herbs and then go to my Google doctor, and then if the Google doctor doesn't match up, then I go to the real one, right? So,
Right.
but I think at the end of the day, there are several approaches to this whole treatment thing, right? And I want us to recognize, usually we talk about primary, secondary, tertiary treatments. Primary means we prevent, secondary means we treat it early, tertiary means we prevent complications. But there's also something called wellness, and wellness means we get ourselves strong enough so that we're less likely to need primary, secondary, or tertiary. And so the wellness can come from some of the things you do naturally to improve your immunity building, your self-care, your lifestyle. So those things, the fitter you are, you find that you're less susceptible to illnesses. The healthier your meals, the better you sleep. Again, social connections have been shown to improve your likelihood of surviving. As we spoke earlier about that study about the number one predictor of a good quality life being good quality connections. But of course, as we went earlier, primary, we want to exposure management. We want to avoid, we want to keep the surfaces clean. We want to sterilize, practice good hygiene, and ensure that we wear personal protective equipment. That gets us that primary treatment in place that it doesn't get to us. So it doesn't get to us, then we're good. But of course, it could have gotten to us, right? And if it could have gotten to us mentally, then of course we learned about some um, psychological first aid methods and models a while ago, and of course some direct techniques that you can put into practice. And of course, if you heard as a part of that if you as you do the disposition of the person, they may go off to more advanced treatments if what you have done hasn't been helpful. But by and large, most people, once they're in distress, a little bit of strengthening through connections may be just all that they need to get them going. And then, of course, I go last to, medical therapy. Whether that be your doctor, that sends you to the pharmacy to be able to get things. But I think the thing to point out here is that treatment starts long before we get into early interventions. It gets into the prevention first, wellness, and then, of course, if it gets to the point that we are so affected, then we want to ensure that we prevent complications. I told you I'd have a slide for your first aid kit for you so that you can get your treatments in the right order and put the right things in your first aid kit based on the type of treatment that you're looking to ensure that you can cover. And whether it be wound care stuff, over-the-counter stuff, tools that you can use, or things for your special needs based on your own risk, then ensure you keep a good first aid kit as you move around and of course at home. A refresher here, right? So if we're gonna be treating, we also do the treatment not just based on the area that the disease itself starts to multiply in. That is how we do it in terms of the secondary and tertiary care method, right? But in terms of the primary and wellness, we create the barriers between ourselves and the varied means by which they come to us. And in terms of wellness, our behaviors are such that we strengthen our resilience and our immunity to be able to not be affected by these conditions. So here's a quick trivia for you. What's the diagnosis? This is a case of Melissa. Melissa is a 42-year-old young lady, not related to Hurricane Melissa. She visited the affected area a week ago. She had some bouts of diarrhea. She had very bad headache, right? Um, she's now been experiencing it for 2 days. She's been taking, just like our good friend a while ago, some vitamins, some turmeric, some ginger tea, some aloe vera, some honey, and lime mix, right? But things still seem to be going on. What's the diagnosis? You have three options. Is it dengue? Is it tetanus? Is it cholera? Drop it in the chat. Very quick, quick, quick. Which one do you think it is? I see Erica saying that what about washing face, bathing, brushing teeth? Yeah, hygiene. Hygiene is a very, very important one. As we said, in terms of when we look at the ways in which we treat, we look at first and foremost the ways in which we do those sort of home care and self-care related activities, and hygiene falls into the self-care related behaviors. What's the diagnosis for me? What does Melissa have? This is a transfer illness. I love that, right? Um, and that's a good point. The question is now which one, right? Which one of these transfer illnesses does she have? But I love that the fact that you've picked up an important, a valuable lesson there. It's not just simply about the actual condition itself, but we have to think about the multiple potentials, and that's how we think when you come to us. And so, what would be your advice? Would you say continue taking home remedies, or would you say visit the doctor? Who says number one? Who says number two? Quick, quick, quick. Who's next on my list? VU it. What is Melissa to do next? We know we hear that she has a transfer illness, right? All right. Which of course all of the illnesses that we just put down are transfer illness a while ago. View it if you can. Or Denise, we haven't heard from you in a little bit. Sorry, Desmi, we haven't heard from you in a little bit. Althea, I don't think we've heard from Althea at all. Althea? What's your advice to Melissa?
To visit the doctor.
Visit the doctor. No chat GPT this one, right? And of course,
No, not at all.
not at all, right? Of course, you could have continued her home remedies, but what we see here is that she had a pretty bad headache, right? And having a very bad headache is what we call a red flag, right? And we have to know when we should visit the doctor. And it really depends now, this time, on your system, what your system is telling you. And I'm going to leave these for you to come back to. But there are certain things that we call red flags that you can't continue to treat at home. All right. And so when it comes to your brain and you have a unusual headache, I mean, diarrhea is normal, right? But when diarrhea is going 5, 6 days, that's now abnormal. When there's blood in the stool, that is abnormal. And so we get familiar with some of the abnormalities that let us know that, hey, oh, can't sit with this one at all, right? No more home remedies. So I have to go and get the doctor involved, get some tests done, and in so doing, ensure that that disease get treated early or complications get prevented. So what do I want you to take away from here, right? So after hurricanes or heavy rains, most of the diseases that tends to surge tends to be preventable, all right, and they are quite predictable, all right, especially because of the type of diseases that we are already familiar with. Whereas if you think about dengue, most of us last year, the year before, what was in the news the most? All right, dengue, right? Leptospirosis probably not so much, but if you're a clinician, you're familiar with the frequent pattern in which it tends to manifest itself. So it's not surprising to see a sudden surge in leptospirosis in Jamaica because we tend to see a few cases on an ongoing basis, so even though it's not a lot. And so seeing this surge right now, we don't get surprised. So it is predictable because barriers become broken. We have vulnerable populations. We have those behavioral habits. We have those we have those open connections to each other, right? And because of these things and because of the way in which the things that tends to affect us tend to travel through the things that we need, like our food and water, then it's predictable. And if it's predictable, then we can do something to really set up a system to avoid it. And hence, get to know the local options to be able to get support. If you are in a space that reaching one is not as easy, or know the hotlines, know how to activate telehealth. I'm sure you saw some numbers from Dr. Kelly earlier. But importantly, protect and keep safe your food. Get mosquitoes where mosquito breeding sites are, get them under control. Rodents, pests. You may think you're going into the affected zone to be affected. You might be the one that's carrying things in to the zone, right? And so be very careful as you offer care, right? Whoopsie. I'm so sorry, guys. Pay special attention to the people around you that are vulnerable, babies, pregnant women, people who their immune systems aren't as strong, including people who are older or people with chronic illnesses. You heard about the importance of mental and emotional health earlier. I have to reinforce it because without your mind, your body doesn't function well. And when your mind is ill, it's easier for your body to become ill as well. And so, in closing, recovery is something that we all look forward to, right? We all look forward to bounce back stronger, but we want to stay healthier, to support each other and do so in healthier ways. So, with that said, I want to hope that though it was quick, something meaningful was shared with you and hopefully you will be very careful as you offer care and build caring relationships and maintain your caring relationships because they will give you a longer life and they will give you a better health. But if you're not careful, then you may find that you shorten your life and the life of those you care for. Any quick questions for anyone who had listened in and something jumped at you that you're so moved by?
Okay, Dr. Thompson, the matter of using the tap water. So I put my question in the chat about using the tap water for brushing teeth, bathing, and washing face. Is that okay? Or I have to boil it as well?
Yeah, so it's very difficult for you to predict the state of your water, all right? And so the safest thing that you can do is err on the side of caution. Or on the side of caution, drop to, if you have those gallon bottles that we normally buy water in to the filtered water, then you can simply drop your 2 drops of bleach in that, and you can use that to ensure that your what you're using to wash your face, what you're using to brush your teeth, what you're using for hygiene purposes is as clean as it can be. So whether it was affected by faulty purification methods or just because of a a high pathogen load, then what you find is that whatever gets to you through your tap, or if you're in a space that you're using rainwater or otherwise, because fortunately for a lot of us, tap water, it's pretty safe for a lot of us, but we just don't know, right? And if you don't know, you're on the side of caution. And definitely, if you're using water from rain runoff, or you're using well water for some of us, you know that the risk is extremely high in those cases. So yes, with tap water, it is much lower than when we use untreated water, but definitely because immediately following hurricanes and so what we find is that you can get a lot of pathogens breeding up on the tap itself. We can get pathogens that comes in and around you from the places that you go onto your clothes. So as you're using your water, it's so easy for it to become contaminated, especially if that water is stored water. So there are some very simple things that help you to have the maximum care being done. 2 drops of bleach, boiling, and your safety is increased. So I say, why take the risk if you don't have to?
All right, thank you.
Do we have
All
any
right,
other
guys.
questions for Dr. Thompson or any comments? If not, you can show your reaction by using the react button. We know that we're at the end of our webinar presentation for tonight. Let's show Dr. Thompson and Dr. Kelly some love, some clap hands, some thumbs up. How do you feel about the webinar that you have just been able to participate in for such a good time? Thank you, Erica. Much appreciated. Dr. Thompson, I thank you so much for your presentation after the storm. They usually say after the storm is a calm, but we're still in that recovery mode. It's not quite calm yet, but what you have done is definitely shared calmly how we can, step back and take all the necessary precautions, how we can be very cognizant of our surroundings and not take things for granted because we're heading down to ground zero to be of support and to give a hand in those areas. We really need to take the necessary precautions. We really appreciate how you have outlined all the necessary things that we need to take into consideration, the precautions, and even given case studies so that we can relate to it. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your
Thanks, Shirley.
input.
If I may, in just a minute, guys.
Sure.
I'd love for you to extend to you guys, for the time that you spent, it was quite a good time. It's 9 o'clock now. A little gift, angel gift, we put it as, that you can extend care through EMS. You can access, these special offers here by just simply either emailing us or using the link that's dropped in the chat, that can extend an offer of care to those who need it, right? And so please feel free to use them. Dr. Kelly a while ago would have shared psychological first aid. These are dropped in the chat, but there are some people who need to talk, and you can always feel free to reach out to us to talk at any given time. So we give you thanks for your time, and these gifts are here for you. Just use the link that's dropped in the chat or the telephone numbers that's provided to you that you can extend care even further.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. That was a very generous offer you provided. And I hope everybody got the opportunity to download the one-page slide with the psychological first aid kit summary, as well as take a copy or click on the link and save. So ladies, we have no gentlemen except for Dr. Thompson visiting the presentation tonight. Ladies, we thank you so much for being our guests, for being patient with us as we covered both topics. We would encourage you to share the flyer, and then we have 2 more webinar series. We have a part 3 next Friday, and that will be at 12:30, which is the next Friday would be November 28th, and that will be our lunch and learn at 12:30 p.m. That will be a shorter, compact 1-hour presentation. So please encourage your colleagues, your friends, your families to join us then. If not, they can join us December 4th, Thursday, same time at 6:30. We appreciate you. Thank you for your participation. Again, I'd like to extend special thanks to my colleague and team member, Tiffany Stewart, who is our member services coordinator. She did an awesome job, even though she's behind the scenes and keeping a low profile, but she was very instrumental in coordinating. And I'd like to thank the Thrive at Work team, courtesy of Dr. Ija Thompson. A lot goes into putting on these webinars, lots of energy and planning, and we're so happy that we're able to bring this to the public. It's a great opportunity at this time. I mean, typically these webinars or these workshops cost. True, Dr. Thompson?
Quite a bit.
Yes, all right. And Dr. Kelly, thank you as well. If any of you are commuting on the weekend, safe travel to your different homes, like especially Desmi, who mentioned that she travels on the weekend. All right, so that's a wrap for us. Am I missing anything, Dr. Thompson, Dr. Kelly? Any last words? Okay.
Cheryl, thank you for
Yes.
being such a wonderful host.
Thank you
and
very much.
the HRMAJ family for all the continued support that it has continued to give to ensure that the employees of the nation through the human resource fraternity is kept in good hands. And certainly, it has been a wonderful pleasure to work with you on this project.
Oh, thank you so much. Much appreciated. And I'm so looking forward to, we have more to come. So virtual high five. All right, take care, everybody. And thank you. See you all soon.
And for staying with us.
Indeed.
Go ahead, Tiffany.
No, I was saying thank you to our participants for just staying with us.
Absolutely.
Thank
Absolutely. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson.
You're welcome.
Dr.
Bless you,
Kelly.
Tiff. And
All
you are a wonderful technician for us tonight. All right.
Okay, take care. Bye, everybody.
Good night,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Night, night.